Hey everyone, I have an exciting video. First, we're going to be making over some things I already have in my stash. Next, I am going to be showing you how I take some of these things and place them in a vignette styled. And if you stay until the end of the video, I have 3 Halloween journals that I made a few years ago, and I'm going to be showing them to you all. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Now the first project, we're going to be using this Old Crows box. I had this last year in my vendor booth and it didn't sell, so let's just give it a little bit of a makeover. I'm adding this pinwheel that I've had in my stash for a while. I used to make all kinds of these when I made junk journals. We're going to go ahead and ink the edges of this. I like to cover up any white edges with ink, so I just use the ink pad. We're going to add some glue to the back of it, and this is going to start the base of our little vignette we're going to put on the top of this box. Now I'm adding this crow. It has a little bit of wires on its feet, but we're going to be cutting those off because they won't work with this. I'm going to be using some hot glue to attach him to I've got a punched out circle that's going to be his base. I'm going to use hot glue for that as well. Hot glue works very well on paper. Now once we get our crow glued down on here, I'm going to heat his feet up just a little bit with my heat tool so they'll kind of bend and go down. They kind of stick out a little bit straight, so I want to just mold them just a little bit to go down instead of straight out. And you can definitely do that with a heat tool. Just be really careful because the feet are made out of plastic on these crows. These came from Amazon, but I think you can get these at Dollar Tree and other places. Alright, once I get his feet the way that I want them, we're going to add just a few little things to this. Now some of this I do off camera, but I'm going to show you coming up. We're going to make him a little hat. Now it kind of is like a witch hat, but I put a little ball on the top of it, or a bead, you'll see, which almost makes it look like a little jester hat. So I'm cutting this paper in a circle, and I'm gonna go ahead and just roll it up like a cone, making the base wider than the top. I'm just gonna cut it down to the size I need. I end up adding some hot glue around the rim of it after I get it cut down with a little bit of black twine to give it like a little trim. Now that I have that done, I'm gonna add some of this gold stickles. Now I follow this lady on Instagram called the Wendy Addison, and she has the most gorgeous paper crafts, and she always adds glitter on the trims, and her paper crafts are very vintage. She has a store. It's called the Wendy Addison. I followed her for years. You all should look her up if you have Instagram. Alright, once I get that on the trim, I'm going to go ahead and add a black bead on the top of the hat. I thought it needed something, and this almost gives it a little bit of a jester look instead of just a witch. Then I add a flat gold flat back on the top of it with some hot glue to finish the hat off. Now I am going to add this with hot glue to my crow's head. I'm going to prop him up here in a second just so you'll have a little bit of a better view. Now I'm going to be adding just a few little things on camera. These are just some like dark little balls. I don't know what these are called, but I got them from Hobby Lobby, so I thought they would go great with like the spooky season. And then I add a little bow around our crow's neck and a little poison sign and a butterfly from the Dollar Tree. Let me know what you think about this one. Our next project is the larger box. This was a set of 3 and one of them sold because I was selling them separately. I'm going to add one of these Tim Holtz strips over the word kitchen just so we can keep it neutral, kind of like it doesn't have to go in a kitchen. And I'm adding the paper to not bulk it up with this 3-in-1 Fabri-Tac glue. You'll see me using this with paper crafting. It dries really, really fast. Alright, once we get this label on here, I will go ahead and kind of dirty it up. I'm going to try to make it, the color kind of go with the lighter color on the top of this box. I love the colors on this box, so that's why I didn't change them, either one. We're going to add this large pumpkin as a focal point on the box, but first I needed to kind of take away the country look of the blessed. I go ahead and cut that off and then just hot glue the pumpkin down. Now, like I said, hot glue is going to work perfect. This is fabric and paper. It's going to bond really well. Now, I'm going to sit this kind of to the back so that I'll have plenty of space to add things in the front, like this little girl with the pumpkin. And what I did was printed some free images offline. I'm going to go ahead and just ink her backing. So if you see it from the back, it's black and not white. I'm using hot glue to attach her to the pumpkin, and I've kind of formed her a little bit round. This is cardstock that I printed her on, so I kind of bent it a little bit. And now I'm adding some black mummy cloth. Oh my goodness, I love this stuff. It's just, I don't know what it is. You guys can tell me in the comments below, but I found some of this at the Goodwill bins in sage green yesterday when I was out thrifting. I'm excited to use that during the season. All right, and I'm just gonna go ahead and hot glue that kind of all around the edge of the pumpkin. I meant to put this under the pumpkin and just forgot, but that's okay. Don't worry if you forget something. Y'all know how I am. It's so many things are so easy to fix. Please do not take crafting too seriously. Have fun with it, enjoy it. Mistakes can be fixed. And if worse comes to worse, there is a trash can. Okay, we're adding some more of these cool tan and black balls. If y'all know what these are, comment below. And some other things. I'm not going to show everything on camera, but I'll show a few things because we could be here all day. All right, I take just some black twine, put it on here. I do tie a bow, but we have to kind of untie that here a little bit. And I want to add one of these Dollar Tree ring bats. So I thought, this is perfect to go around the stem of this pumpkin. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue and sticking it on. And then later, I just twine completely around that. And you can't even tell it was a ring. I am adding one of the Dollar Tree skulls off of the whole body of one of the skeletons. I've darkened him up a little bit with some ink. And I'm going to hot glue this vintage wood dice down. I just love how that looks. I just love doing these types of projects, and I try to intertwine them in my videos. I hope you guys love them as much as I do. Alright, the next step, we're going to add a tag to our pumpkin, and I thought what better than just some random numbers. So I punched a little hole in it so that we could add it to that bow and fancy it up just a little bit. Once I finished that, I went ahead and just kind of crunched up that little tag a little bit, added some hot glue, and attached it to the pumpkin. I thought I would add a little bit of dark bling to this, so I found these little cone-shaped, they're plastic, cone-shaped plastic gems in my stash, just adding a little bit of that Fabri-Tac glue to the back of them to hold them in place. I end up adding a paper raven to this, a little spooky printable. I love how this turned out. Oh, and I forgot about the bones. You guys will have to let me know if you like this one. And the lid is perfectly capable of coming off and being used for storage. This next project is going to be part of our styled vignette that we are making. What I did was painted this a cream color off camera, and that paint had a lot of chunky bits in it, and I just left it on the pumpkin because I thought it looked gorgeous. I'm adding this 1879 stamp from my IOD stamp, using some black StazOn ink. Once I get that good and stamped on there, we're going to transform this pumpkin to look vintage using, as you can see, some dark brown wax and some gray wax. This turns this pumpkin into perfection because it's going to go very well with the vignette that I'm working on. I rubbed some of that back, and a lot of it gets in those chunky bits. Oh, I love this. Now you can see kind of what it looks like. I'm adding some black chalk paint on the stem, not completely covering up all the cream. Once that dries, we'll go ahead and add a little bit of gold rub and buff because we want to give a little bit of an antique look to this. That's kind of what I'm going for, a neutral look. But I've got a special character coming up that's going to be going with this pumpkin. The next piece is this ceramic house. It came from Mighty Dollar for $1 when it was still $1. I've added black chalk paint. We're going to use this brown wax by Dixie Belle, kind of giving it a little bit more rich look. plus giving it some protection from the black chalk paint. I'm going to rub just a little bit of that back, but I really want that brown showing through on this little house because we need it to look a little dingy for our vignette. I'm going to go ahead and take my rub and buff and give these windows a spooky look. It's so easy. We're going to go around all these edges, just dragging our brush and making it look like the gold is dripping down from the windows, giving this house a super spooky look. And that's all we're going to do to this. Now you can add a tea light candle or just some lights in this as well. I'm not showing photos of these yet, but you'll see them all coming up. Now this is a gorgeous shaped frame, and although I like green, I did not like the green and gold on here. And this is for our special character, so I wanted to give this a caramel base, but it's not going to look anything like that. I just used some Dixie Belle Pinecone chalk paint. Now I'm using some DIY clear wax to go over this, getting it sealed up real good because we're going to need it sealed for our next step. I'm going to be using some of the Dixie Belle black wax, but I do add some more black to it coming up. After I get the Dixie Belle black wax on, I go ahead and start using that antique gold rub and buff, and then I can think I really want a more solid black, so I grabbed out my rub and buff in black. That stuff, ooh, it can completely cover something with black, so it definitely worked. And of course I wiped a lot of this back so that you could see the caramel through it, or the pine cone. It looks caramel to me. But this gave this such an aged, spooky look. I love how these waxes worked together. If you've watched me for very long, you will know that anything that I put a photocopy of Edgar Allan Poe in always sells very well in my vendor booth. So we're going to use Mr. Poe in our vignette. But you're going to have to wait to see what he looks like coming up. I wanted to show you this brass vintage earring tree that I got for $2.99. Now each limb has a hole in it for earrings, but you're not going to be able to tell that in our vignette. Our next project that holds our styled vignette is this tray, and I really like the painting technique that's on here. Of course it's paper, I'm assuming, or stamped, but I'm going to paint it solid black chalk paint. Take some of this Dixie Belle gray wax just to give it that hazy, spooky, kind of foggy look. Wipe some of that back. I do end up adding some gold rub and buff to this for our vignette. I went ahead and styled this tray with the pumpkin that we made, the Poe photo frame that we made over, and our house. Added our brass tree to the background and some florals, mini pumpkins. Let me know what you think of this gorgeous vignette and how I styled it. That is the end of the projects, my friends. Here is a recap on the two first projects. Now we are going to go through these journals. I pulled a video of when I made these, so I just added it to this one. I made 3 small Halloween journals. I'm showing you here that I did some sewing around them. I used some old animal cards from like a educational thing. And so I used that beautiful black cat and kind of added a few cat things throughout. You'll see that's some vintage bone slides. I also used some Tim Holtz throughout this, Martha Stewart, recollections, of course, old papers I might have, craft papers, scrapbooking papers. I made some little booklets like this. That's an old anatomy card. I made these little booklets. I just added different papers. That's a card from Tim Holtz. I had some die cuts. This is a die with that black cauldron. It's a Tim Holtz die. That's some Martha Stewart papers, some dyed papers, more of those little cards, little snippets from scrapbooking papers that had like the poison bottles. This is some more Tim Holtz stuff. I did the die cutting on these, or either used my little punches. I've got some cool Martha Stewart punches that do spiders and trims. I really had a lot of fun making these Halloween journals, and I'm enjoying making Halloween projects this year. I have always loved Halloween, but more on the spooky or creepy side of it. But I had some requests to do orange and black colors or just traditional Halloween in my style. So that is what I'm trying to incorporate in these videos. I hope you see that I did hear you and that I am trying to do that. It was so fun just doing the little pockets on these. I miss journaling so much, you all. I'm probably going to start doing some junk journaling on this channel. I really enjoy doing a lot of different things and a lot of different genres. I don't want to be specifically one type of channel when it comes to the type or style that I make. I want to do a lot of different things, and I think I've had a lot of requests for paper crafting. But there are some people that don't watch home decor channels for paper crafting, so I enjoy doing both. I enjoy paper crafting and I enjoy the thrift flips and painting, those things like that. So you'll see more journaling added as I've had requested, and I really want to do added to this channel. But my plan is to keep it at the end of the videos so that people who are interested in it can watch it at the end, and people who aren't can just watch the regular thrift flips and home decor at the beginning. I feel like that would be a happy medium. That's just an old like math card. That's the thing, when you're out thrifting and you find little envelopes, that little black and white polka dotted thing you're looking at, that's actually a folder I found when I was out thrifting, a pack of folders. I love that. That's Tim Holtz paper. I love that. All right, now this one is another, all of these are kind of similar. On the front, they have something, of course, Halloween. I use the animal or cards throughout. You can see that's like a moth. Isn't that beautiful? So I think I'm just going to play some music and let you guys enjoy the rest of this video. If you're still here at the end, leave me a book emoji or type the word B. You don't even have to type out book. Let me know you stayed and that you enjoyed this part of the video. All right, I'll see you all real soon in the next video. Bye-bye.